722 here with LANTRC. I'm by myself today, and I wanted to share with you guys my new studio, if that's what you want to call it. And I just got a text message, and guess who it's from? It's from Spyro Smith. Yeah, well, we thought about flying today, but I don't know if the wind's going to be up for it, but I have a few more toys to show you. Since the last studio look around, my RC collection that I've had, it has definitely grown. Soon after I made that video, I actually bought a new toolbox, so I do not use the yellow and black one, which you see right back under there underneath all that junk. I don't use that one anymore as an RC toolbox. I spent $100 and got me this one. You've already seen that. It actually goes to the truck. I should have put that over there with it firsthand. But anyway, I bought this. It is a DeWalt mobile workstation, and it is perfect for all my stuff. I've got SD cards in my SD card adapter for my micro. I carry some Q-tips with me to clean out transmissions and differentials and such like that in case I pull it apart and a bunch of teeth are in there. Just for some small cleanup. GoPro mounts, stuff like that. Shock oil. I have now gotten some Dynamite silicone diff fluid, 30,000 weight. Works really well. However, I don't know if that's actually in Bruiser right now, because I sent it off to T&R Hobbies in Elk City, which is the local hobby shop that I go to. And I had them replace the whole transmission, because if you've watched the past few videos, I don't know how many I've actually caught on camera, but a lot of the runs in between those videos even, every time I ran it, it wouldn't take but 5 minutes at max for me to destroy the transmission. So I got tired of messing with it, so I just let them work on it. They replaced every single component in the transmission. I got it back, and it's working better than it was out of the box. So kudos to T&R Hobbies for the fix up on that. I really appreciate it. And another shout out to my friend Austin Hildebrand for picking the car up for me, because he was headed to Elk City the day I got it back. And he went by. I gave him some money for it, but it was more than I thought it was going to be. So I owe him just a little bit of money, but thanks, a shout out to him for picking that up for me. That's what you get for having great friends, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, the rest of the RC studio look around. The battery for my drill. I got the charger and the adapter for my drill. These are the front wheels off of the these are the very first front wheels that came on the truck. I still have those. I've went through about 2 pairs of rear wheels, which would be right there, but I actually loaned those to Austin Hildebrand, and I think I'm just letting him keep them because I don't need them. I've got the big trenchers on it right now. That's what I run. So here I've got the drill bits for my drill. A Dynamite toolkit, which needs to be replaced. Most likely not by the same brand. Great toolkit to start out with, but over a short amount of time you will find out that the bits do not properly fit all the screws, and the screwdriver does not work properly. But other than that, it's a great kit. It served me for quite some time, but it is definitely not the best out there. There are some screwdriver kits that you can get that are far better. Here I have my Traxxas EasyPeak Plus 6-amp charger, and here I've got my big bundle of cables, and all of these will be explained later. I will start pulling them out completely when I get to all the rigs. Up here I've got the charger for the AA battery charging, rechargeable AA's I use for my transmitter in the Bruiser's transmitter. Electrical tape, you know, I got white lithium grease and a screw kit. Comes in really handy because I strip out a lot of screws, and when you lose them even, that becomes a big problem. So if you have that, you're fixed up. Here's another bottle of the shock oil. I've got a suction cup GoPro mount, which is awesome. Haven't used it on anything RC, but I have stuck it to my guitar and played a song once. Really cool. Here's my Dynamite Duratrax. That's what that is. Duratrax car stand and work stand. Here's my Ultra Steel drill. And this is a big wad of stapled together papers from schoolwork. And I use it for when I go to set my gear ratio on the car from the pinion and the spur. I just rip a piece off, which you can see I've done right here. I just rip pieces off, and you use that, just crush your gears together with that in between, and tighten all that stuff up, and roll the paper out of your gears, and it supposedly creates the perfect gear mesh, that is. Sorry. I'm not on my talking game today, as you can tell. Anyway, here I have the top box, which down here you can see these white strips. They are command strips, and I just command strip it right on top of there. It is the perfect little box. I actually knocked a hole in it, so I don't know how exactly, but I think it's from when I set the SST down on it with a broken A-arm. Kudos to another friend. Tell you about it in a minute. Got all my little nicks and knacks parts. There's a spur gear from my Traxxas Mustang that no longer exists. I don't know why it's in there, but you know, never know when you're Here's a 25 tooth pinion. That grub screw is actually locked in there, and I need to get it out. It is stripped out, and I can't get a hold of it with my screwdrivers because they're terrible. So yeah, anyway, and right now I'm actually using, this is another different 28 tooth pinion. I'm using another 28 tooth on Bruiser, and I do not have any more plastic spur gears, and I will let you know why. I think there's one over here. Yes, right here. I think this is the 86 tooth. This is what was on it when I got it back from TNR. I always had the problems with the transmission going out. Well, since I got it back, the transmission is so solid now that there's so much power going through the ESC and motor that it actually I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of mesh you have. I guarantee you I set the mesh right every time, because I hate stripping out gears. But it eats up plastic spurs. I mean, goodness. It literally eats through them like I do ice cream. Just kidding. I actually don't eat ice cream that often. But, I mean, it's a monster, which is why now I'm running and looking for metal spur gears for Bruiser. But anyway, GoPro mounts here, wrenches, some random pins I used to use for the car. Now I have a bunch of these little blue ones. These are fantastic. $2.50 or so. Got me 50 of these. And they are amazing. Match the color of the truck, and they're easy to put on and pull off. Doesn't matter what body you use. Sometimes the body is a little more difficult, but it all works. Bunch of random screws in here. Another deal, you know, if you lose a screw. Some wrenches, some screws for some reason. Here's the old pinion off of my SST. And I will let you know why this old pinion is in here. You guys remember I had a 16 tooth pinion for that truck, the Bruiser, right? Well, it is now on this beast, because I have upgraded it to the brushless Valenion VXL 3M from Traxxas. A slight modification to the motor mount, and it fits perfectly, and it runs amazing. I also purchased a Traxxas mini 2-cell LiPo with an ID connector, which ID is just cool. It's awesome. But at first I just shoved it into the chassis. You can see that I modified the chassis right here. I ended up cutting the whole side plate off because the battery has trouble fitting in there because it's slightly bigger than the old battery, which I also changed the connector on due to the new connector on the motor and ESC. But it's slightly bigger, and I crammed it in there, and it actually, at first I was worried about it penetrating the battery, but it didn't. But I still tried to put, the tape is not over it anymore, because electrical tape, once it's stretched, as it sits there, it pulls itself back. So it's kind of useless right now, other than something to grab when you're taking the battery out. So I need to redo that. I may just wrap one single one around it, but I get paranoid around lipos sometimes. I like to make sure they've got plenty of protection. But this thing has actually been starting to give me trouble. Not the battery, but the truck. Once you get so much power ran through it, since this truck is just a starter rig, really, you know, for your grandkids or your kids, when you get them started into the thing, this is a great truck to buy them because it's so durable. When you start getting a bunch of power rolled through it, everything on it is metal until you get into the differential. The pinion and the spur on the differential cases are both metal, but there are 4 tiny little plastic gears inside the big ring gear on the differential that turns the plastic shafts on the axles. I actually have solid steel axles coming out, but the shafts themselves that the axles connect to into the differential are still plastic. All of those plastic parts can be replaced. However, they can only be replaced by the solid aluminum axle. And the aluminum axle even has a plastic ring gear. So instead of it being metal, it will be plastic, but it'll have aluminum everything else. And it's solid axle, so the differential use is no longer, you know, actually using it. You know, one wheel won't spin faster than the other because it's a solid piece of metal in there. So that's why it's a little bit out of commission. It's actually only the rear differential, because all the weight gets shifted back when you push in the throttle, and it just stripped out those little plastic gears in the ring gear. But other than that, this truck is fantastic, and it runs super quick. Now, on Bruiser, there's the completely differential, whatever. Talking. Anyway, let's say completely replaced transmission. You can tell I'm tired, right? Transmission's been completely replaced, and we are all good to go. It's actually running the highest gear ratio I have, due to the fact that it's the only metal ratio I have. Now, when you look down here at my batteries, of course I've got my Venom. These 2 batteries go to the SST. Then you're thinking, what are those for? This is the battery I run in my plane. My big Trojan T28. That is the one that Steve Hildebrand gave me. A great battery. He also gave me this battery, which is the Park Zone battery that came with the Trojan. Very awesome. However, this battery is super puffed, so I'm not sure I'll actually run it, but I might. Depends on how much it's charged. I need to look at that. But those are the batteries for the Trojan. This is one of my prized possessions now. This is a JR9303 aerial transmitter. This is a transmitter that can fly 30 different models, and it has the memory for storing those 30 models. It's a 9-channel transmitter, and it has 3 different fly types. It has acro for the planes, like my Trojan. It has heli, like quadcopters or 3D collective pitch helicopters, anything like that. And then it has glider. And so, I mean, you can pretty much fly anything with this. And on the back there, which is another thing I forgot to get, on the back, you have this. This is a frequency module. I actually have another one over here that I was going to grab, but I forgot about it. This one is the same brand as the receiver in the Trojan. However, the case around it has been custom 3D printed. And I've shoved a paper towel down in there because when you pushed in the buttons for binding, it would push the board down and you wouldn't be able to push the buttons anymore. Now when I shoved that in there, I made sure that when you put this module into the back of the transmitter, it did connect correctly in the pin holes right there. So it does turn on and still work. I just kind of did a slight modification to make it usable. But I haven't tried this out. They're both 2.4 gigahertz frequencies. However, this one is Orange Tech, and this one is Spectrum. Both 9-channel. So, very cool. And I guess I'll go ahead and just leave this over here. But this is my new transmitter for all my aerial stuff, and I actually have it set up on the Trojan. I added a servo and a small screw on the bottom for a bomb bay, and that is controlled by the gear switch. You flip that forward or towards you, and it turns the servo and releases the rubber band and drops whatever you have in there. It's a really cool setup. And also, any lanyard you can use for this, but you just attach it onto this little ring right here, and you put the lanyard around your neck, and that makes it to where you're not having to hold the transmitter the whole time you're flying. You can just simply let it rest on your neck, and you can just move the analog sticks. So that's really cool. Now, inside I also have purchased, what you see right there is a voltage meter for LiPo batteries. You can connect your LiPo balance lead to that little alarm, and it'll beep really loud, and it'll display the voltage of all the cells together and however many cells individually you have in the battery. Say it's a 3-channel like this one, it'll say channel 1, display the voltage, channel 2, display the voltage, and then cell 3, display the voltage, and then display the voltage for all of them combined. So it's very cool, and not only that, but you can set it to when the battery voltage gets combined, or not combined, but when each cell begins to get to the point where it's down to a certain point that you set, it will sound an alarm to let you know that it's down that far. So it's kind of like instead of it being low voltage cutoff, it's low voltage alert. And that'll tell you, okay, I'm down far enough, you need to land the plane so we can disconnect. Because if you discharge the LiPo battery too much, you'll severely damage it, and it will either puff up really bad, possibly explode, or catch fire, or, well, definitely will lose a lot of life. So you want to make sure you don't discharge those too much. Forgot to show you on the SST. I also have constructed some drag wheels. These are some racing wheels off of the Kyle Busch racing NASCAR pickup truck, and these are just funny car front wheels off of the, what is it, at 8th scale funny car from Traxxas. All the same size, and I just had to, on the back of the funny car wheels, I cut slots in there to fit one of the hex hubs, and I bought 4 more extra hex hubs just for this purpose. But I just super glued it down in there, and it works really good. The only problem is the Kyle Busch wheels and the tires, they're such a more of a hard compound that it doesn't want to catch grip back there, so all your grip's on the front, and then it makes it super squirrely and you can't do anything with the truck. So yeah, it's because these are a really soft compound, kind of like the trenchers on my car, and these are a really hard compound. So most of the time I run the stock wheels on it. And I also taped up the body for the Rustler. So yeah, the Stampede body is now back in play for a little while. This bag right here, you might be wondering, and you probably have already seen the thing it's for in the background. This is a bunch of extra parts and props and everything for my new quadcopter. It is amazing. I already have all the red props mounted on it. That is not the color I desired. I was thinking green would be fantastic, but we couldn't find any black props that ran in a clockwise rotation. So he gave me the good green props and a package of some other type of green props. And those green props are the same as these. They're not the best. They're really flimsy on the ends. But it'll get it flying when I can. All I need for that is I'm going to buy the KK 2.1.5 board, which is a flight controller. I'm going to buy 4 Hobby Power 30 amp ESCs, and I'm going to buy another Orange Tech 6-channel receiver, just like what's in the Trojan. I'm going to put that on there, and I can actually run that quadcopter with the battery for the Trojan. However, when I start to get into FPV, I'm going to have to buy another battery so I can power it. But it's really cool. You can use the GoPro like I'm using now, but for FPV. I mean, it's just amazing. You'll have to look into it sometime. But those are my 2 new toys. Really cool setup. And the last thing I have to show you, besides these are servo extensions. I just figured I'd throw those in. Just so you guys know, this is I bought these for when I was doing the bomb bay on the Trojan. And they always come in handy, so might as well have a bunch on hand. Got 20 of them there. 19 now since I used one. But this is the Blade 130X. It actually has a bunch of upgrade parts already on it. Steve Hildebrand also sold me this. It's fantastic. I actually broke the tail rotor, which is a bad deal. I also attempted to go inverted because I thought I found the switch that held the throttle. Well, I was wrong. It wasn't the switch, so I went inverted and cut the throttle like you're supposed to stay in the air. It literally did cut the throttle, and it plummeted to the earth and smashed right down on the top of the shaft. Bent apart. I went back in and I bent the part back to where it was straight as could be, and I put it all back together and assembled it, and it spun for a while, but now the ESC control board on the front seems to be burnt up. So for $80 I can get another one, but I don't want to spin that. So I'm really contemplating on whether or not I even do any of that. But if I don't, or even if I do, I still have 4 really good batteries right here. All 4 of them 3-cell 35C. These 2 blue ones are 35C, the others are 40. Really good 3-cell oh, wait a minute. Sorry. These are 2 cells. I thought they were 3 cells, but they're only 2-cell batteries. But they'll still work. I think they will still work for FPV. So even if I do or don't, I can still use these batteries to run the video transmitter on anything that I put FPV on. And if I can't, I'll have to order another one. I think you're supposed to use 3-cell batteries just for the 11.1 volts. But it may be fine. We'll have to see. I'm not really, knowledgeable about all that, but we'll figure it out eventually. I really want to do FPV. And here's a bunch of extra parts for the Blade. So, I mean, he sets me up really good. Really well. He's a great guy. But this is the new setup. Hope you've enjoyed looking around at it. You'll have to see that fly as soon as you can. I actually got a new job, so when the paycheck comes in, I'm going to see how much I get from it. Got to fill my pickup up, got to pay Austin off, and got to do a few things first, so it may be a little while before that quadcopter's up and running, but definitely want to see some flight videos of the Trojan. I'll be doing some speed runs maybe with the Bruiser, and we'll play around with the SST. So this has been the new studio. Hope you've enjoyed, and hope you didn't get super bored because we've been going for 25 minutes. So anyway, glad you could join me here. Just figured I'd throw you in some on some of the changes. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. This has been Logo 722 with LANTRC. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, it's Logo 722 here again with a short clip after the previous video because there's a few things I forgot to mention. there's not really that many, because on my mind right now I can only think of one. But in the time I do this video, hopefully the others that I thought of will come back into mind. But until then, one of the things, and this is more of an informational vid, kind of a how-to, really. But one of the things that I got is for the Trojan. And it's for when I got the transmitter, you know, Steve gave me a way to bind it. There's these things called bind plugs. And what it is, it's a little end, it's like the end of a servo lead. Or what you would find on an ESC, what plugs into the receiver. And it actually shorts out the ground wire, kind of setting those types of receivers into a binding mode. Because when you first power them up, they don't automatically go into the binding mode to find the transmitter that they need. They are set to a desired transmitter, and they will not change unless they're told otherwise. And that's what this is. It's actually on my keyring, so I always have it with me, just in case we're in the field and one needs to be bound, and it doesn't even matter if I'm flying or not. I always have this with me, and it's just a little lead, just like that, and it's got that ring on it. This loop right here, that is not fabric of any kind. That's actually a wire. It's actually connected into the lead. Shorting out the ground, and you plug that into like on the Orange Tech receivers, like what's in the Trojan. You plug it into the port on there that says battery or ground, I think it is, or no, battery or bind, and that is what you plug it into. And once that's plugged in, all you do is boot up your ESC, which powers the receiver, and then you hold the bind button on the transmitter and turn it on and hold it until everything binds together. And then once that's done, you just take it out and it's bound every time you use it. So it's really cool. It really is. I'm gonna have to do the same thing on the quadcopter, which that's one of the things I remember now. The quadcopter is now sorry, I've got something in my throat. I know I did show the quadcopter a little bit, but I did not show it to the extent of letting you see it up close and showing you kind of how you put it together. The thing about this is those motors are really good. They're kind of a no-brand kind of name motor. I'm not sure what brand they are, but they are really good because Steve let me fly a GPS drone with these same motors on it, and they are quite responsive at the right settings. And the cool thing about this quadcopter is the frame. Part of the frame, this lower section of the frame, is actually the board. You solder everything to it. If you can see those little circular gold parts there, one's got a plus and one's sorry, goodness, one's got a plus, one's got a minus. Those are actually the places where you solder the ESCs, the power for the ESCs to. Instead of having a battery connector on it, that's what you solder that to. And that's on each deal behind the arms. This one right here that's on the side, just kind of out and awkward and not where the others are. That one right there in the middle of the screen, that is actually the one that you solder the connection for the battery on. And that links to all the way around to all four of them. So that's where you get the lead for the battery that you plug it in at. And up top, these four white things are for the mount for the KK2 or really any kind of flight controlling board. And then just in front of that, or maybe off to the side right here, that is going to be where I mount the receiver. Probably on the front because there's more surface to actually get it mounted. And I want to mount it in a place where it's not going to hinder me being able to take the arms off or anything. But you want to have it close to the board because on the left side of the board is where you plug this leads into the flight controller. And on the right side of the board is where you plug them from the flight controller to the ESCs. So it kind of goes through a link like that. If you watch, I watch a lot of flight tests, and that's where I know pretty much almost everything that I know about aerial RC. Watch flight tests. Some of their recent videos, the Versacopter, very cool quadcopter, kind of a home built DIY kind of thing, really cool. What he uses, and that's one thing. It's exactly like the bottom plate on this quadcopter. You actually solder all of your components to the upper plate of the frame on the Versacopter, and the connector and everything sits in there just like that. It's really cool. So yeah, very cool. But that's where I learn a lot of my stuff. So I definitely recommend going to Flight Test. Josh Bixler is very good about information and showing you how to do things, and the whole Flight Test crew is just outstanding. They're very knowledgeable about all of the aviation RC and everything that you can get, and they have their own products, so that just makes it that much better. So yes, I definitely recommend, if you have any questions about RC, aviation, anything like that, shoot me in the comments, or go watch some flight test. Look it up. Look up how to do so-and-so, how to hook up an ESC or something like that on RC plane, and just look for the channel Flight Test as you roll in. And I guarantee you they'll help. And plus, they do so much stuff on there, it's just fun to watch. So go check out Flight Test. They're very cool. Very great people. Tell you the truth, I want to meet them in person. That's how great they are. I really do want to meet them in person. I think it would be great. But yeah, that is pretty much the quadcopter. The bind plug and everything. I'm going to have to use the bind plug on the receiver for the quadcopter and everything like that. But yeah, it's very cool. I cannot wait until this thing is flyable. So anyway, just another seemingly long video. I am very talkative a lot of the time, sorry. Anyway, this has been Logo 722 with LANTRC. We're signing out once again. We'll see you next time.